Welcome back to the recap show. This is TRS in the Wild. We are at Watch Me Sports Bar in Long Beach, and we are so excited to be here thanks to our wonderful partners, QuickBooks, who are helping businesses like ours at Re-Inc., as well as other women's sports, just grow and be celebrated, and they're a great tool and a great partner.
Amen. And you did pretty good stealing my intro. This is definitely the recap show in the wild.
Also, I think everyone who's watching this show should know that behind the cameras, there are a whole slew of televisions, and there is absolutely no way Tobin and Heath can focus when there's so much sports on.
Not only are there like a whole lot of TVs, but there's also a whole lot of noise. So this is gonna be interesting.
But we are all having a good time, and why is that?
Because we're at a women's sports bar.
We are
what I would have thought was in the future, but we are in the now. This is sports.
And it's an amazing space. It's the first time that Tobin and I have been here. I believe that this place has been open for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see it flourish. I've been told by the owner, Jax, that when Angel City plays, it is standing room only.
You know, she's speaking to someone who would really appreciate hearing that.
She knew what she was doing.
But I believe that.
So what's cool about this space? What do you like about it?
We talk about the act of gathering, that, you know, women in general haven't had these places of gathering. We talk about how when you go to an Angel City game, how it just feels just different. And we're trying to actually kind of define like what that difference is. We've spoken on the recap show about this. Like, what are those pillars that make, you know, women's sports, gal culture? But this is it, you know, like this is that feeling. And I don't know, we're getting there. And I think being here is like helping, you know, define that.
You know what I thought about when I was trying to find the articulation of why this space is really cool? I thought about the women's pond, the ladies' pond. And for those of you that always watch our show, thank you. And you'll also know that in Hampstead in the UK, when we lived there, we frequented a ladies-only pond. And what I thought, and it was the most magical place, and it changed my life. And what I thought about was the spectrum of spaces that make me feel safe. Because this is quite a different environment than a ladies' pond where it was generally elderly ladies swimming in the nude. This is quite different. And in this space, actually, there's a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important because when we talk about who Re is for, we're very intentional in our thought process and our strategy that it's not just for women.
Amen.
But it is for all people that love women's sports.
Yeah, and I think like the idea of sports is like sports is on this spectrum, right? And I think that a lot of us, you know, we have masculine and feminine energy, and like the world has so much masculine and feminine energy, and all of sports, not just men's versus women, masculine and feminine energy. And it's like, you know, we've kind of, you know, the past sports have kind of leaned into the masculine energy, even though like there's tons of feminine energy like in men's sports as well. But I think it's like what women's sports is, it's kind of just like broken down the door and been like, let's let all the energy into sports. And that's the feeling that is the inclusive feeling. Because I think for some people before, they're like, oh, those sports? Like, oh, that bar? Oh, that team? Oh, I like that, you know? And I think like the whole sports industry should be celebrating because, oh my gosh, we just like 2x'd our business.
I wanted to spend a moment being grateful for the fact that we're here.
Yeah.
Yes, in this space. In this magical space celebrating women's sports. Yes, on this magical show celebrating women's sports. And have a moment of reflection to think about how we got here.
Let's do it.
Tobin, how the hell did we get here?
I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're on a show as a part of a media division talking about now, like the beginning.
Why?
Because this just if you had told me in the beginning that this would be like 5 years down the road, I would have been like, no.
Okay, so we're on a show talking about why we're on a show. So we're having like an Inception moment.
Inception. This is Inception. Okay, but to kind of like reverse engineer this thing. So 2019, which honestly, like, it feels like a lifetime ago, but it also feels like just yesterday. There were so many forces happening in 2019.
In our lives.
In our lives. And leading up to 2019, because even like the idea to start a business, it's not like we just woke up one day and we're like, let's start a business. Like there were so many different steps that had to be taken. Education, starting players associations, being connected to folks that were like, dream bigger, like look up, like
a whole lifetime of actually being good enough to make the national team.
A whole lifetime of being good enough to make the national team. You know, even like coming off 2015, being defending champs going into 2019, there was so much momentum and forces that were happening, you know, outside of just, you know, the World Cup. And then, of course, we had this gigantic force of our pay equity lawsuit. So anyways, that's just setting the scene for just these like really strong forces happening. And within this was this, you know, really brave moment of deciding to start a company.
Okay, so I'd like to pause there because Tobin is the visionary. She is the one whose intuition guides us and leads us, and she's generally the one with the big ideas.
That's really generous and kind.
But whose idea was it to start a company?
Christen Press. I remember when you actually proposed it to me.
I know.
And it was like, so there wasn't 1 ounce of hesitation or misunderstanding when you came and said, let's start a company. Immediately, it was so spot on. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the context that you were talking about, it was the environment that inspired us to do this. It was a special cocktail of forces, as you put it, that gave us the gall.
Yeah.
That gave us the courage and honestly foolishness to take on a lawsuit of our employer, a World Cup, and launching a business all in the same year.
Yep. Yeah, we did that. We did that.
Pretty dumb.
Honestly, I think being naive to how hard, you know, founding a business is
helped. Yeah.
Really helped. Really helped. Because looking back on it, would I say it's like absolutely worth it? For sure. But would I have known in that moment that it would have been the hardest thing that I would do in my life? No. I was going to a World Cup. I wasn't thinking this was going to be the hardest thing I'd ever do.
So we decided to do too much and try too hard and start a business. But we kind of always do too much and try too hard because that's sort of what it's like to be an athlete.
And a woman.
And a woman. Great point. So what do you think it is about you that allows you to succeed in this role? And how has all that you learned on the pitch translated?
Yeah, I think athlete to entrepreneur is the most natural, like, it just complements each other.
It's not even a transition.
It's the same thing in my mind. As an athlete, like, you are your own startup. You know, you had to make your own career, pave your own way, like, get the tools to continue on. So for me, and it's interesting now kind of like being a little bit more in the business world because you see the gift that was sports as an entrepreneur. You see it compared to where, you know, even with our team and stuff, there's just, as an athlete, there's just that fail fast mentality. Like, you embrace failure. You almost run into it because that's where, you know, the growth is.
Okay, so it's, what you're saying is athlete to founder, no transition, it's not even different. I think, if I'm honest, I would never have seen you in the role that you are. And you blossoming and being a founder, a CEO, an entrepreneur at large actually has shifted the way I think about you.
Wow.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
That's so cool.
So
I hope I can do that forever.
What, transform?
Yeah.
Because I think of them as very different. I think of them as like head and heart.
Yeah.
You know, like two sides of the same coin. But for you, it's heart, huh?
It is heart, but there's also this aspect about kind of building that is like, it's not going to be perfect. Like, we had a whole campaign on progress isn't perfect. Mm-hmm. And I think if you get so kind of like caught up on like the little things, you kind of miss the big building blocks. And I think embracing imperfections, being super versatile. We talk about founders like having to wear like a trillion hats. I've never met someone that could do more things. That's you. Like that's so many hats in the beginning of the business.
Not a good thing. Multitasking, ugly thing.
And you know, it didn't help being like so like able to do that, because then you just did so much. You know, most people would be like, kind of like, can I get someone over here to?
Oh no! If you want it done right,
better call Kristen. But yeah, founders, like, you have to be versatile on the field as an athlete. You have to be versatile on when you play on the best teams. Like, you're going to be asked to play different roles. And the athlete that's like, no, that's just not me, is not going to get very far. And especially, you know, if you're playing on a team like the national team, like, not everyone can be that one version of themselves on a team like that, which is what makes a team so beautiful. So I think like an athlete in itself, like failing fast, being versatile, evolving, wanting to grow, like wanting to like understand that if you're not growing, you're dying. Like those are the only two things. You're not going to remain on the national team if you come in and continue to be the same player that you came in as. Like, the game evolves, the players evolve, and like if you're not going to grow with that, then
now that you've said this, I actually do see how you were a founder as an athlete, and I'm going to tell a story. We were at Manchester United in the locker room. You were injured. We might just have been playing at Old Trafford, and we might have been playing quite poorly.
Oh.
And you were wearing a beanie and a big green puff coat. And you came stomping in the locker room when the players spoke before the coach came in, and you read us all the riot act. And you had so much passion, tears were coming down your face. And it was like you were mad that you weren't playing, and you were mad that we were in this iconic moment, and you were mad that we were nervous and we weren't embracing it. And these British women were like, oh my. And that was the way that you lead with your heart. And then I can fast forward another year or two, and we're on a Zoom meeting with Re-Inc. And you were telling our team that unless you're crying in the shower after every meeting, then you're not trying hard enough.
Okay, this is ridiculous. You're making it sound like Re-Inc is a terrible place to work.
No, it's the best place ever, because we have a leader that leads with their heart, that has passion and love and believes in what we're trying to do, and thinks it's important, and isn't afraid to show vulnerability because you care.
Yeah, I think there is like that element of care, right? We didn't create Re-Inc as, you know, just to be a job. It was a mission. Like, it had purpose. And I truly believe, like, when you match, like, career and purpose and, like, life all together, it's just, there's really nothing you can't do. And so in that way, yeah, of course I care. It's probably one of the things I care most deeply about.
Yeah. And the interesting thing that I wasn't expecting was, of course I knew the values of sports were going to help me in whatever else I did, right? Like you said, bravery, teamwork, confidence, all the things. You learn that. That's why we need women and girls in sports, right? But what I was surprised was how being an entrepreneur has helped me as an athlete.
Oh my gosh, totally. I mean, for me, I see you being entrepreneur, like helping you in leadership so much.
Yeah, I think what it was for me that was so interesting is when in sports, everybody that's on your team is also your competition. And with everyone on our team is only on our team. I don't know if that makes sense, but you go against the outside backs in practice. So sometimes they have a bad day. That's your good day. You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously competing for spot on the field, for time and a starting position. So there's always this level of competition that I think as a younger person and pre-founder, I really found myself a little bit tight and tense and scarcity and mine are yours and I can't really trust you and who has my back. And that, I think, really limited what I understood as success as an athlete, and it really made it so that all I could have capacity for was being the one on the field, being the one that had a good day. And obviously I play the most selfish position on the field as a 9. So it was like, I score, I hope the team win, that's my job. And in running this business, I had people that mentored me without that competitive nature. And I had young people come on my team that I wanted to see flourish without any sense of jealousy or fear or when you're running a business, the best thing you could do is have the person that you're managing grow and become better than you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it was so clear and obvious to me in that environment, but what it's allowed me to do, and I've had a lot of injuries over the last 3 years. Well, I had one injury, but it was a long one. And I'm an older player. I'm a veteran player. They call me a senior.
Senior citizen?
No, they call me a senior player. It's horrible. And in this phase of my career, I think a lot of people think about athletes hanging on and, what you lose as you age.
Yeah.
And what I think the gift, one of the many blessings that Rhea's given me is that it's actually allowed me to open up my definition of what my value is on the team and what success looks like. And that's in helping our captains lead, even though I'm not the captain.
Yeah.
That's helping our young players score goals because they were 5 years old when we won our first World Cup. So even if I'm wrong...
You've kicked a few more balls and scored a few more goals.
Even if I'm wrong about everything I'm telling them, they believe me.
Yeah. I mean, I'd believe you.
And I think just because I believe in them, in both sides of that spectrum, I've received a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can say personally, watching you grow as a leader, I mean, I think you've always been a great leader. I mean, I think it comes from a lot of poise and intelligence, and you have a lot of strength and bravery in the way you lead. But I think the way that you evolved as a leader is educating other people to lead as well. So going back to Manchester United, like I remember going to those rooms where, we were talking with upper leadership about, hard things that were going on in the club that we were trying to, work out and move forward. And, like those players being educated, being in those rooms with you and seeing how you led, how you spoke, how you stood up for others is a tool then that they can do themselves.
Yeah.
And then we've seen them grow into those roles. And I think the same is true, that I've heard you say at Angel City is the way that you've led has given so much confidence and purpose to the next generation to lead as well. So,
and I think the big thing that's true in sports, it's true in business, is leadership is service.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of humility.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes on the field, I don't know about humility.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's a full circle moment of just honestly seeing the game. Like, just like you're seeing kind of like leadership from like more of a 360 perspective, like seeing the game from a 360 perspective.
Yep.
But I will say also, like, just to kind of like put a bow on the leadership, it's like, it's an incredible perspective being a founder because you kind of understand business like as a whole. And not just like one part of a business and what it does and how it operates, and being a CEO also, because you have to do everything, right? And you kind of can empathize now with women's sports and the business of women's sports and where it is and the frustrations we've had as athletes where we've been like, why can't we just have this, or why can't we do this? And it's because the business of women's sports is broken.
Yeah.
And just by saying, why can't we do this, isn't really helping. It's understanding the full ecosystem and how in this current moment, how you can help that ecosystem grow. So I think one of the coolest things is being able to empathize now, like from maybe even like the ownership and maybe the struggles that they are having.
I totally agree.
And when they say, actually, like, we can't do that right now.
I know.
You can empathize and you can actually
girls,
communicate to the athletes and you can communicate to your teammates because you can see the full ecosystem and how hard it is and how hard business is. And I think that's a great gift that founding RE has given me, is understanding the landscape of sports and actually empathizing with the struggles, because I have, you know, a more full picture of it than just when I was an athlete.
Such a great point. Sometimes the girls will be frustrated.
Yeah.
And I absolutely resonate with how hard it is to hire and fire, and how sometimes you feel so insecure and it takes too long, and being on the other side has a lot of blessings. We've been talking a lot about business and women's sports and growth. And we just wanted to say thank you to our partners at Intuit QuickBooks for supporting all of these endeavors and having our back and helping fuel the future. Now, we're going to give you exactly what you want. Community questions.
We couldn't not.
You're welcome.
We couldn't not.
I hope that these are awesome. Do you want to go first?
I'm a little worried.
Oh, Jamie from Minnesota wants to know, Tobin, how do you feel about stutter step penalties?
Love them. I'm a stutter stepper.
Oh, but are you?
Actually, no. I think I've already shared this on the recap show, but for new listeners, back in 2019 World Cup,
true,
we were very serious about all of our set pieces, but in particular, penalty kicks.
Because we had lost at the prior Olympics on penalties, but go ahead.
I forgot about that part. Yes. Well, you know, always trying to evolve, but we were hyper-focused on penalty kicks, and everything became about data and how to convert a penalty kick. And our penalty kick coach, with thorough data to back up his, you know,
theories,
but also his
suggestions,
proposals, but
dark green in the side of the
goal.
More
like you have to do it. What's that called?
Mandate.
I was just getting there for his mandate, which was no stutter steps. Therefore, a one Tobin Heath moved down the PK.
Yeah, you did.
All the way to probably not taking a penalty kick, because I think it's part of the art and fun of football. Also, I love deceiving a goalkeeper, but look, it's just my flavor and clearly wasn't his.
So just to understand more fully, you refused to change, and so they didn't select you? Or you changed, but then you didn't have your heart in it?
I was going to say, I did change, but I didn't have my heart in it.
Yeah.
You know? And if you don't have conviction when taking a penalty kick, like, you shouldn't be taking it anymore.
I will say I was grateful, because if I had to watch you stutter up to the ball in a world championship, I might not be here today. Oh, you're up.
That's a great question. Peyton from Pennsylvania asked, Kristen, when you dog sit, are you a dog sleeps in the bed or not in the bed type of owner? Wait, this is really weird. If you're dog sitting, they're asking if you're doing this with someone else's dog? That's just strange.
I think the reason I'm stuck on this is, when am I dog sitting? Is it a side gig?
Okay, should we rephrase this?
Yeah.
I think it's got.
I take all of these community questions too literal.
If you have a dog.
If I had a dog.
If you had a dog.
They would sleep in my bed.
But if you also had a partner named Tobin.
Tobin would sleep on the floor.
It's so true.
Yeah, that's why we don't have a dog. Okay.
Yeah.
Larry from Houston asks, who is the best women's footballer ever in your opinion?
Oh, Kristen Press.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Next question. No, I'm serious. Next question.
Abby from New Jersey wants to know, what is your Hogwarts house?
Will you remind me what the options are? Because I think I know. It's not the normal.
Slytherin?
Could be. Next.
Slytherin?
Oh, it is?
No, I'm just kidding.
Next.
Gryffindor?
Nope.
Hufflepuff?
Could be. What's the next one?
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw.
I think the Sorting Hat would have been like, I think Hufflepuff's out.
Hufflepuff's out. Yeah.
But I don't know. Ravenclaw's a little. That's like Tyler.
Smart.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think you're more Slytherin, unfortunately.
I do too.
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah. Just get you.
And snakes. I wish I was wearing my snake earrings, and it would make even more sense.
The year of the snake.
It is the year of the snake. Thank you all for your community questions, and thank you all for being in our community. We can't wait to continue to grow and dream and build with you all.
And we're going to keep taking this show on the road.
I don't know. We'll wait to hear if anyone liked it. I'm not making any promises. Want more of the recap show brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks? Like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.